Hello and welcome to Fully Charged and welcome to 2017. Well, what will this year bring us? Maybe don't answer that. I'm the very worst person to make predictions. I mean, I don't even know what's going on now, let alone what's going to happen the rest of the year. But I know there are one or two quite exciting innovations in the pipeline. Something I mentioned on the Twitters last month got a great deal of attention and interest. Not all of it positive, and as always, I find that really interesting. In France, just before Christmas, my heroine, Ségolène Royal, the French Minister of the Environment, opened a 1 kilometre section of roadway just outside the village of Tourreuvre-au-Perche. Now, the difference between this bit of road and your average bit of road is this road can potentially, and notice I use the word potentially, generate electricity. Yes, it's a solar road. It's a road made up of solar panels. Obviously not thin, wibbly-wobbly solar panels like you might put on your roof. No, these are big, chunky, butch solar panels. Now, we've all heard of solar freaking roadways for some time now. A startup in Sandpoint, Idaho, has been running a crowdfunding campaign and has built a limited number of test installations. There have been copious blog posts and videos created that explain that the whole thing is bankrupt and it'll never work. Now, I'd gently like to suggest that it might be a little bit early to make a definitive statement about this new experiment. But to be fair to the critics, I'm now going to do an experimental dance interpretation of the quite extreme reaction to this news. And remember, this reaction is from people who are very keen on solar power and very anti-hyped-up vaporware, and rightly so. Solar freaking roadways, it's bullshit! It's a con! It's ridiculously expensive! Solar panels needed to be angled towards the sun.
What happens when there's a traffic jam? The car will make it go all shadowy and there won't be any electricity.
The roads will be covered in tire marks and oil drips, and they'll need to be cleaned. It won't work! It won't work! It won't work! Indeed, all those things could be true, but here's the thing, we don't know yet. This new installation in France is the first medium-scale installation of this technology. It may be a slippery death trap. It may only generate enough electricity for a solitary LED on a bicycle. Or the engineers behind the project might have thought through one or two of the problems that might arise and have actually come up with a solution. We can all think of dozens of reasons why this might be the most daft idea ever, but I've decided to keep my solar roadway hatred powder dry until we have some actual data. Now, you lot are a very savvy crowd, fully charged viewers, I mean, and you don't just look at an advert and think, oh God, right, I'll go and buy that straight away. No, you think about these purchases carefully, and you're not influenced by the evil advertising overlords. However, there are times when advertising can alert you to the mere existence of a product which you can then decide to purchase or avoid. Take car companies advertising their new products. It's going to be no surprise to any of us that large motor manufacturing companies aren't focusing their advertising dollars on their diminutive range of electric vehicles. A good example is Ford, who in 2015 advertised their petrol-powered Ford Focus car no less than 4,750 times on American TV and cable channels. The electric version, 200 times. So even with my hazy grasp of maths, that's a bit less, isn't it? The excuse the automakers have used is, consumers just don't want these products. However, this is patently not true. The interest in electric cars is growing rapidly. The simple fact is many consumers don't even know these cars are available and have been grossly misinformed about the actual cost of ownership. And why don't they know? Because the automakers don't tell them. In its most benign form, advertising is a way of informing the general public about a product or service. If you don't advertise, they don't know about it. But then if you continue to advertise the dated, less efficient, more expensive product that you've built your entire business around, then everything is peachy. Peachy for them. Not so peachy for us poor suckers. But there are bright spots in this otherwise bleak outlook. Some motor manufacturers actually have highly trained specialists at their dealerships and outlets. Some of them even advertise their electric vehicles. But most of the big manufacturers don't, and I've heard dozens of anecdotal reports of people going into a big car dealership asking to see the new electric version of whatever car it is and being told, no, you don't want that, you'll get range anxiety. Look at this one, this is the diesel one, this is much better. Marvellous. But against all these obstacles, electric cars are becoming more popular, which in turn means that there are greater demands on the supply chain, which means we're going to run out of lithium! Diesel will never run out, but now I've got run out of lithium anxiety. No! There were some reports in the mineral extraction industry last year that suggested that demand was outstripping supply and the price of lithium would go up. However, that sparked a great deal of investment, and according to the Reuters news agency, the stampede to invest in lithium mines threatens price gains. Yes, savvy investors thought they'd cash in, so they threw a load of money at mineral extraction companies, and of course then there was a glut and the price dropped. Free market capitalism. Isn't it brilliant? No, really, it does work. Okay, maybe not for normal human beings, but for the money markets and multi-billionaire investors, it's absolutely fantastic. But is lithium going to run out? No, of course it's not. Global lithium reserves are at about 14 million metric tons, according to the US Geological Survey. Last year, global lithium demand was 66,000 metric tons. How much of that was used for electric cars? About 2%. The rest was used in consumer electronics and grid-level battery storage. And by the way, lithium is 100% recyclable, and lithium actually makes up about 2% of the mass of a battery. So no, we're not going to run out. Now, if you drive an electric car and you use the public charging infrastructure in this country, you'll be aware that it is starting to get a little bit pricey on occasions, and also it can be mind-bogglingly complex to use. According to the brilliant ZapMap website, there are over 93 different charging options available from different charging companies. 93! It feels like everything about this system is designed to suit the various charging companies and not exactly make life easier for us numpties that use it. Now, everyone I've spoken to who drives electric cars is happy to pay to use the public charging network, but it has to be fairly priced, it has to be transparent, and it has to be easy to use. One app, one fob, one card to use them all. I mean, it's not that hard. Blimey! It's also got to be fairly and transparently priced. That's important. We've had lots of discussions about that on Fully Charged, I know that. But it's really important that they don't fleece us. I mean, God, some of the charging companies are you have to pay a fortune to get the electricity out of them. Well, luckily, government ministers have stated very publicly recently they're going to crack down on overcharging charge companies that charge too much for a charge. Now, of course, most electric cars are charged when they're at home. I mean, there's one just the other side of that wall that's charging right now. That's normal. But occasionally we do have to use the public charging infrastructure. So make it transparent, make it fair, and make it easy to use. God! And lastly, a bit of mildly, almost good news. The Norwegian oil and energy giant Statoil have just sold off their assets in the mind-numbingly stupid, short-term and destructive Canadian tar sands extraction projects. But they haven't just sold them off and walked off in a Norwegian sulk. They've now invested in securing the rights to install the biggest offshore wind farm in the United States of America. The 79,350 acre area of sea just off the east coast of the United States will, when it's complete, be a 1 gigawatt wind farm. Seeing as the USA has only just completed its first offshore wind farm, I mean, we in the United Kingdom have had them for years, yeah? We're really cool. Well, this is really quite something. It is worth remembering that Statoil is a massive global oil and gas extraction company. They're still extracting and drilling and exploring and selling a shit ton of oil and gas. But the fact that they've ditched tar sands and have invested heavily in large-scale renewables could possibly be the cause for some sensible, feet on the ground, logical celebration. So here we go. Woot! Yes, we continue to live through exciting times. I mean, there's loads more news, but I simply haven't got time to do it. I mean, I'd be sitting here yabbering for the next 3 hours. No one wants that. Least of all me. I need to lie down. But before I do have a lie down, here's a list of wonderful Patreon supporters who have been supporting this show with donations of $10 a month or more every month. monthly. I really do need to lie down. But here they are. They are absolutely essential for keeping this show on the road. They are Graham MacDonald, Mark Meloko, Bruce Pearson, Luke Richards, Val van der Schagen, Paul Matchen, Seri Williams, Alex Curtis, Ryan Ross, Frederick Carno, Andy Scheibel, Steve Cooney, Ron Davis, James Coates, Michael Gill, Michael Carter, Vishnu Nair, James Knight, Glyn Davis and David Wright. So a massive thank you to all of them. Without you guys, we really wouldn't be here making this show. It's absolutely vital. Please, if you don't support us on Patreon, it's fine. There's no problem. You don't have to. There's no pressure. But please subscribe. There's a little bit of pressure to subscribe. That would be really nice if you subscribe. Come back again. Watch the more new episodes, what we're doing quite soon, where the script is what really written really well and makes more sense than this. But of course, as always, if you have been, thank you for watching. Te rouvre au perche. Te rouvre au perche. Why can't they just have a village called like
Nice.
Nice? It's so easy. Te rouvre au perche.